session. Already 10 minutes past time. Citizens Forum. Welcome, Ms. O'Connell.
Do you want me to move? Just, can I talk to you?
I'd like to have your microphone, and there's one right here. Just make sure it works. I'll bring it up to you. You stay right where you are. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for being willing to listen to me. I'm here representing the teacher subs tonight. They really do not have any organization, so the sub pay just gets, it stays the same, we work an 8-hour day when we're subbing. We get $135 a day. That's less than $20 an hour. And I just talked to a high school student that works out at Ballard's. She's getting $16 an hour plus an average of $200 a tips a night. Not that her job is any different, but I think we have a little bit of responsibility as teachers to be coming in. You know, the kids aren't always at their best when a sub is in there. You have the responsibility of safety. There's just a lot of responsibility. You're a lot of times coming in and hit and missing of what the teachers left you. Sometimes it's left great. Sometimes you're making up the day, you know, what you're going to be teaching for that day. I would like to see it go up to at least $20 an hour, which would be $160 a day, because we do work an 8-hour day. And one thing I heard was, well, we're one of the best paid around. What difference does that make? Why aren't we paying our subs what we think they're worth? You know, who cares if we're the highest or the lowest paid sub? We want to respect the people that come in and sub for us. And also I would like to, and another point is, you're paying a teacher to cover a 45-minute prep $75. And you're paying a sub that comes in for an 8-hour day $135. Okay. I'd like to see this increased yearly so it keeps up. You know, every time you do like the teacher's salary, why doesn't the sub get an increase? Either the percentage that the teachers get or the COLA for the year. So that way it would keep getting, you know, you'd be keeping up with the times. I thank you for your consideration. Do you have any questions?
Are any of the sub-tasks strictly hourly? In other words, like, would you come in for a 3-hour day sometimes?
Sometimes then you get paid a half a day.
Okay.
You either get paid a half a day or a whole day.
So you're not really advocating for it to be an hourly wage?
No, I was just comparing that
Right,
to
right,
what
no.
other people, you know, get.
So you're either here for 4 hours or 8 hours?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
Jeff, we've increased this since I've been on.
2018, we
Okay.
went from 125 to 135.
Okay.
And I think at that time the recommendation was for 140, but the board went back and forth and decided on 135.
And I think we did, not to go over stuff that you just did, but we did compare to neighboring districts, and certainly we didn't want to be the cheapest. And I think at the time we stepped up and were the best, I think, at that moment. And I'm understanding that things have certainly changed in 2 years or 3 years. And it's a supply and demand factor is what we've looked at in a lot of ways. Okay, we can't get enough. It's like bus drivers, we've said. All right, let's up it and see if we can't get more.
Do you remember how we did that process? It wasn't just sitting at a board meeting one night. Did we do a committee or was it just
No, we did some research. So
and then
we
came back?
checked Warroad, Kelliher, North Home, Roseau, Indus, Greenbush, and Lake of the Woods and did comparison.
And looked at the budget as well and
Yeah.
to see how that fits into it?
And at the time, I think we were looking at it as needed labor. I mean, saying, okay, we don't want to lose people to Warroad because they can do a higher rate over there. So I think that was our goal, was to make sure we kept the teachers over here who were interested in doing the subbing.
Yeah, and we can see, I'm sure other schools have had to increase it over that time, just because.
So it's been 4 years.
Yeah.
But also in defense of Nyla, she's not talking strictly, you know, marketplace economics. You're talking fair wage, you know, what's expected in a classroom. And
And is there anything built in as far as like experience or tiers or anything like
No.
that? No, straight up, okay.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna take an action item on it tonight, but are we interested in directing you to pursue, let's at least get a comparative level again and see what's changed over? I guess, I know you're always talking subs, and as a school, we've actually hired a full-time sub since we did that, understanding that it's always a necessity, and I think you'd say that, wouldn't you, that it continues to be a necessity?
Absolutely.
I guess it surprises me that you'd pay somebody $75 to cover a prep, which is more than half of what a sub would get for a whole day.
Well, there's a negotiation that takes place.
Yep, I know
right?
there is.
And so
but-
that you
But I'm under
acknowledge
the
that.
understanding that you are the guys that offered that.
Well, I guess, appreciate any other questions. I'm certainly open to discussion on that. It's been 4 years, probably time to address something. And, you know, whether we decide at 160 or something that we feel is adequate, or whether we exceed that, who knows? I mean, it just depends on what we can afford and who we want in our classroom still, right?
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Did they ask for a raise of hands and say, because once again, a negotiated standpoint, everybody has to come to the table. How do they leverage you into coming into this room?
I took it upon myself because
Good.
I'm subbing more, and
Somebody got
I
to
know
tie the
all my
belt.
years of teaching, it seems like the subs don't get represented. And I'm in a position now where I felt I could represent them.
All right, thanks for coming in.
I even thought of being on the school board, but Marla's doing a good job.
My district.
So beyond looking at what the surrounding districts, any other thoughts on that anyway? I mean, we should probably up it. I mean, I'm not a fan of putting it in there necessarily as it goes up every year. You know, I don't like that kind of I mean, I think that's always the problem. You put it in there and you lose control of it a little bit, you know?
It maybe should be that it should be reviewed annually though. Or semi-annually, you know, not semi, biannually when the contracts are reviewed.
Because it seems recent to
Yeah.
us. I remember the conversation,
It
but now it
does,
is
but-
4 years ago too.
Yeah,
You know,
I
so,
mean-
and they haven't had a raise in 4
Time
years.
flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
I
And they
think
don't,
the last time we did it, we tried to, and maybe the way to do it is to base it off your base salary rate on your teacher's salary schedule.
Does anybody do tiers for experience? Is that just too complicated?
It's complicated.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, we have a very short active sub list.
Yeah.
We just have a handful of people that are willing to come in on a regular basis.
would you say that there's a need to expand that pool?
Yeah,
I mean, always.
cooks and special ed and
That's gonna be my question, is like, can we, is
Yeah.
it possible to
Yeah.
expand the pool even?
well, that's one of the reasons we had to rely on classroom teachers to use up their prep to cover. And some days that's how we cover a person, is stacking up all the preps. So that was one of the reasons for why we changed the rate for that.
So that prep she was referring to is over and above the teacher's salary, is that correct then, or I'm
Yeah,
not-
and
Okay,
contractually, teachers are guaranteed a 50-minute prep. So that's why we negotiated that. exorbitant amount because they're giving up a legally thing that they should have to cover where we don't have enough subs to fill in.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, so that's the rationale for that. And we do try
And
to
the
call,
district-
we try to call in subs as much as
And
we
the
can.
district did offer that.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
further discussion, but
I can bring you back some information. I'll try to survey some of the districts and see where they're at with their sub rates.
Can we look at them? I know it's hard because you don't know how often you'll use subs, but just a budget impact at different levels. I mean, going from 130 to 135 to 160 is X percentage increase.
Yep.
right, and then because there is a line item on there that Sheena's got
right?
that's substitute, or it's actually labeled as substitute, isn't it?
26, so 26.
How much, or how much it could have cost in the last year, just to give an idea. At 160, I guess, is what they're talking about, so effectively a $25 a day raise on that.
That's like over 18% increase.
She wasn't suggesting that they worked for tips when she brought that thing up. Was she?
I think they would. I would.
Cash. Anyway,
Best quote of the meeting right there.
okay, Woody. Not in an election year anyway, right?
That was Tim Lyon?
So 4 years ago, we went to 70% of the teacher's daily rate.
Say that number again.
70% of the teacher's daily rate, which came out to $139.87. That's where the 140 came from. So, and obviously over,
So we're at
4
140,
years.
not 135?
no, that was my recommendation.
Oh,
That the
okay.
board went with
Yeah.
135, so.
Seems to me we split a difference or
We
something
did,
somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that original,
And that's the base daily rate?
yeah, it's the step 2. And BA step 2 at 38,932. If you divide it by 180 days and 8 hours, it's $27 an hour.
And you know what that
Fine.
is? You don't know what that is now off the top of your head? The base?
No,
Well, you're saying it's $27 an hour now.
No, then.
I'd have to, what I have written down here, I don't know if I wrote this on here now or back then. I'd have to confirm what our base rate is for teacher.
And what did you say that was per hour? 27?
27, unless my math is messy.
So that should be about $20 an hour though, if we were doing 70% of that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work out in an 8-hour day. I mean, it was an 8-hour day then, right?
I'm not following you.
Well, if we were going by an hourly rate that's 70% of the teacher's base salary, that would have accumulated to 160 at that point 4 years ago. So we must have had a compromise
So
situation.
the student
somewhere.
contact
That's
day,
1890. But it's not, I mean, I didn't think they worked an 8-hour day, but do they?
that's something I need to look into.
Yeah.
Normally for subs, we look at a 7-hour, because that's, most teachers have 6 contact hours.
And then
And
1
then
hour
an
prep.
hour of prep.
Okay.
And depending on the sub, most subs do all the correcting during that prep, or they do what they can during that prep. I don't think we require them to be in there the whole teacher contracted day. But if we're gonna base it off of 8 hours, then that would be the expectation for subs coming in. That they put in the full 8 hours rather than 8:15 to 3:15.
Then the instances where we've had long-term subs, that's a different animal.
That goes, we go, and we're gonna have a couple here coming up, not this month, but like for maternity leave, we go off the teacher salary
I mean,
schedule.
that's really
Okay.
close, if you look at that .27, you know, that $27 an hour, times .70 times 7 hours is $135.30 a day. So,
That's in 218 or $2018.
Yes.
Yeah.
right, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, that was really close
Yeah.
to what we had it set, but we didn't set that for an 8-hour day. We're calculating a
Calculate a
7-hour
7-hour
day.
day.
Yeah.
I like the fact there's a formula out there. It doesn't become subjective.
Right, and that was what I was thinking, you know, that if we could figure out, right, Shannon? You know, if we can figure out how it was calculated last time, it's kind of nice to work back into that
Yeah.
number, you know?
And we do pay, if we have a licensed teacher come in and is willing to sub as a para, we do pay them the higher teacher rate, because we don't have para subs. You know, so they would make considerably less if we paid them as a para. Probably wouldn't come in and help out. So whenever they sub, they get the higher rate,
So,
just because we're so short.
so do they get that $16.80 an hour, or 16?
$135 a day.
They get the sub
Teacher
pay
sub pay.
and that's certainly not an 8-hour day. Okay, I'm just
Yep.
getting my head around it.
Well, you throw a Wednesday in there, early out Wednesday, or, you know, so the days are shortened there as well. I mean, we're not gonna go that far, I don't think, and say, oh,
No,
did you sub
no,
on Wednesday,
but-
but somewhere in there,
yeah.
there's a rationale for,
Yeah.
So I will gather information and bring it to the next
I
board
mean, it's
meeting.
just nice to have some basis for, you know, that difference, I guess.
yeah, and realistically, it's probably time to increase it.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I'm not,
Yeah, I know some bigger districts that are like 145, 146. Like Fergus Falls is 146, I think.
Ready to move on? Okay. We got board committee reports. Finance committee, you're gonna defer to Sheena, I suppose, here shortly, so I'll leave that out. Policy committee, you had a couple in there, but
Yeah, we have a couple that are up for review. I think there was 410 and 414. Not 414,
415?
415. The biggest change, I think, for the board is on the family medical leave. And normally we would bring names of, like, for example, maternity leave. Because it's federal law and the board really cannot say yes or no, it's more of an informational thing. So we're gonna stop that long-standing practice of doing that. Teachers that seek maternity leave will just submit their letter to the administration, it'll be in their file. And probably what you will get is approving the long-term sub for a maternity leave. We're not- So the board, you don't have the authority to approve or disapprove family
maternity
medical,
leave petition,
anything with family medical leave, as long as it stays within the statute, so.
That's probably better just for
Yeah.
privacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest change out of those two. And the other ones are first reading.
And it looks like there's a little work to do on some of those as far as
Yes,
like-
there's lots of changes with parent and student rights and notification type stuff. So look over the red lines, and the second reading for those will be the next month then.
if you're the one who decides, you're the approval or not approval of the family medical leave, I mean, you would be the person who is saying yes or no to
Just making sure
right?
everything's,
And if there was a
In line.
dispute, then they would have to bring it to a board meeting. Like Like if you said no and they wanted to petition for the yes.
Well, if I'm violating the law, it might be different.
All right.
Might be a different route they might take, but
I mean, there's not a subjective thing in there. It's all
no, it's
objective.
pretty, it's
Pretty
in
cut and dry,
statute. It's
isn't
pretty
it?
cut and dry.
Okay.
I mean,
what
if they work
can add.
over 1,000 hours a year, if
Yeah.
they work longer than a year, there is something about how long they've worked, isn't
Yes,
there?
you have to, there's minimum requirements.
Like if
to
I started
qualify.
work today, I wouldn't be entitled to that tomorrow.
Yeah. So there's criteria they
I
have.
believe that's the way family medical leave is. Unless it's changed, and it may have. Been a while since I worked.
So you're not really approving it, you're just verifying. that they
Verifying
meet the
you've met the
criteria.
criteria, and so.
Further discussion? Seth Putz, you want to talk anything about the forestry committee? Since I did not make
We
it.
haven't met for a little while, everybody's been busy, I think we missed last month. No, we did not. We had that meeting, we went out to the site, didn't we?
That was the one before.
Yeah, that was a month before.
So the last time we met, they now have gravel, a base out there where we're looking to build a building in there. And now we're gonna maybe get together as a committee, decide what kind of building we're gonna get put in there. And how big, how much it's gonna cost, so then we can get that, start getting the gravel spread out and create a base and get ready to go from there.
Okay. Any other committees that I'm neglecting? All right, let's go on to superintendent's report.
Okay. I have the October 3rd enrollment report, and K-12 we're at 426, and that's up 2 students from September. Actually, since September, the elementary went down 2 students, and the high school went up 4 students. And I've listed in my notes for each cohort group, so you can kind of see each group. School safety update. I thought with the swatting incident and having that fresh, that I would just give you a quick update, kind of a 10,000 foot overview on our school safety. Trainings, we do multi-agency trainings. The last one we did was actually an active shooter training on Saturday, June 26th, and that involved emergency management, ambulance, fire, and border patrol. And that was a pretty intensive training. It was a good thing we did that, because you could see a lot of those pieces falling into place when they responded to that call. Threat assessment training just this last summer. Kirby Borgen, Mary Merchant, Joyce Beckel, Gary Fish, and myself participated, and I can send out more information on the university that provides this. It's research based. It's pretty intense online modules, and then there was an online training session that we participated. And it's a research based process and approach to assess threats made by students. ALICE training, I believe we started this the first year that Ms. Merchant came aboard, and she's actually a certified trainer. So we do staff and student training on a yearly and ongoing basis. Crisis committee meets every month, and we do yearly drills. We do we have 5 mandatory fire drills. We have 5 mandatory lockdown drills. We have 1 optional evacuation drill that most years that we do. We have 1 mandatory tornado drill. And then you get a practice one when your secretary hits the wrong button on her phone. And I hope she listens to this, because I give her so much grief. She was going to make an announcement and she hit the wrong button, so we had an impromptu tornado drill. So that was good. And she's probably going to give me a what for tomorrow when she hears I brought that up. And then bus evacuations, Brad can address this if he wants, but I know every year he has the drivers within that first week or 2 of school do a bus evacuation. And usually they do it right out here in the parking lot one morning when they come in. And so those are the continual drills that we do throughout the year. Social media, Communications. We do have our school messenger, and as long as staff and parents and students are correctly in there with their information, we have that instant alert program. Social media, we just hired a public relations, so we do reminders through that on Facebook and our website. Our cell service, we are switching over for staff cell phones to FirstNet, which is provided by AT&T, and that's the same system that the county has gone to. And we will be working with them to install, and I call them boosters. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but anyway, we get 3 boosters within the building or the facility, so in case of an emergency, cell phone service for those on FirstNet gets priority. So that's a change that we're putting into place. And we also have some options to purchase radios through FirstNet that would work off those boosters. Because some of the handheld radios we have right now, there's certain dead spots where you can't get good reception. So that would be something to look at down the road. Additional supports and partnerships that work towards school safety and crisis management. Emergency management, law enforcement, we have a very good relationship with them. We have law enforcement that's on site darn near every day in the morning, helping with managing vehicles going in the bus lanes and having a presence in the commons. We have 2 school social workers, which a lot of schools don't have. Our ministerial group is active. Social services, mental health providers, we provide some mental health services within the building. Other measures that we've explored, last year we did look at some non-lethal defense weapons, and we had a demonstration on June 9th. Since then I have gotten legal counsel insurance underwriters feedback on it, and at this time they don't support non-lethal or even lethal defense weapons from a legal standpoint and from an insurance liability standpoint. And I can share with the board the letters that I got back from them. So other options to explore, I know the BCA has a toolkit for schools. It's a phone app for reporting threats towards schools, and that's something that community members and parents and students can have the app on their phone and directly report any possible threats right to BCA. And that's something I'll be presenting at the next crisis committee meeting to see if we want to work towards that. Options that we haven't covered are resource officers. I know research is mixed on how effective those are. It is a cost to the district, but that's something we haven't explored. And another pretty high cost item would be metal detectors. And again, the research is mixed as far as does that help kids and staff feel safer having those things in place. And that's kind of my overview on our school safety. So, and in that letter I sent out to the community, I'm sure you got it, I talked about, we do keep the building locked. We have several staff members that comb the building certain times of the day to double check that all of our exterior doors are locked and latched. So, any questions? So I'll move on. My schedule, I sent out in my email some November vacation days, and then I will be out of the country December 26th through January 27th. January 27th, I wish, but January 10th, if you give me the blessing to be out of the country for that. And if you want, I can do a formal motion at next month's or December's board meeting. So, any questions on that?
You say if you want, that doesn't need to be a formal petition, does it? I mean,
No, but I have to have everyone's okay. And if you want to make it a formal thing, we
I
can
just
do
think
that.
that what's important to me is that you identify who's gonna be in charge.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Okay.
in your absence,
Yeah.
and make sure that person is accepting that responsibility.
Okay. That falls under other duties as assigned, or? Okay. So, and I will just figure out a way that I can be contacted in an emergency. So that's all I have unless there's any questions.
Okay, hearing nothing. I see no Mary Merchant.
No, Mary is on her way to a Northern Principals meeting and legal seminar in Monoman. And she didn't want to get up at 4 in the morning to get there. So I said, go ahead, take off after school. She's got a pretty well detailed list for her report. And if you have any questions, you can funnel them through me or email her.
Moving on to the business office, Ms. Brandt.
So we spent our meeting just discussing things about the audit. It's still ongoing, so not much has changed in the financials that were provided for everyone. I did attach the budget fund balance overview report, but our auditors haven't divided out our revenue yet. So it's not broke down by code, like gifted and talented, health and safety, capital projects levy. So what they do is they take our total gen ed aid and then divide it out in all those categories. There's just still a lot of work that needs to be done. We hope that in a month they'll be able to wrap things up. Just going through, they sent an updated spreadsheet last week on different things that they need. I got one and I believe Harley got one too, that we're just providing more information for. And probably the biggest concern was the credit cards, so I've been going through and trying to balance those the best we can. I think we talked about that the last meeting. Things we can do better and improve on. And so as far as the final for 2022, we're still looking at pretty much the same as last month. Our expenditures, $9,490,553.85. And our revenues, $8,961,530.65, which is a loss or a deficit of $529,023.20. Once the auditors, big change when the auditors finish up, and then they'll update our fund balances and then make any suggestions for transfers if needed. Quarter one, I attached a report for that, and then I also attached our UFAR's expense revenue summary from finance. So just after quarter one, September 30th, we have expended 18% of our budgeted funds, which is $1,475,329.09. We have received 22% of our revenue for the year, which is $1,811,493.65. Most of our expenditures come through the school year. So in the summer months, there's really, we have teacher supplies, but as far as the food service, that's when most of our expenditures come up, and especially Fund 4, so. And so as far as audit, not much has changed from last month. And yeah, time tracker's going well still, no change on that. And I'm still working on some kinks and programming, some different things, but, yeah. Any questions?
No questions? One comment, just nickel and dime stuff, but I think Crystal's name is still on one of those. I'm trying to remember which one it was I pulled up there, but.
On the report?
Yeah, no, on one of the accounts,
Still on a credit card, there's still a credit card thing.
is that what it was?
Yep, so I attach, moving forward, I'll attach the credit card statement every month for the school board to approve, just as you approve checks. It's just a good thing to do. So I attached the one from last month and just indicated what is still outstanding. We're waiting for receipts. And yes, we thought that one was eliminated, but, well, which one are you looking at?
It's that, the Minnesota School District Liquid Asset Fund, coming out of Pennsylvania.
Investment.
Yep,
So I assume that's got something to do with debt redemption or?
yes.
Okay.
Well, no, it's actually another account where basically all our state funding deposits, like our Gen Ed aid and different funds that we get from the state, it's like another account, and then I'll transfer money from that account to our local account for payroll and different bills. So it has a much higher interest rate, so it's beneficial to leave most of our funds in that account.
Okay,
So is it just her name on the mailing address that just needs to be updated? I mean, I
yeah,
don't think
it's
anything
Lake of the Woods School, so it's coming here, it just, the name was on there, I didn't know if that.
meant anything.
So that's I'll ask a really simple, dumb question, but I just was always under the impression that as public monies, we didn't have the ability to gain interest or gain dividends on that money, that we can't technically invest that money, correct? So how does that work that we get an interest rate in an account like that? You know, I mean, are we getting just a minimal, I mean,
In our Mintrust account, we also get, we have an interest rate on that also in our local bank.
Yeah, you can get
earn
bonds or whatever.
You can,
Bonds,
you
yeah,
can earn
bond
interest, I
interest.
think.
I think there's limits on how you can invest it, like,
It's very strict.
Can't be in the
yes,
stock
you can't,
market.
like, some of the stuff is riskier, you're not allowed to do that. We
how do
run-
they determine the risk though? I mean, where's the speculation value on
There
it?
was some like overnight trading stuff where they would temporarily, I know this because we used to do it at my house, temporarily put that money into like an overseas account at night, earn a bunch of interest. Like a sweep account? Yep. Thank you. And those are not allowed, so, but we earn interest in our money and it's public money.
So if we earn an amount of interest in this, is there, and I'm not asking to be that guy to determine that, but is there a better spot? I mean, that's my question. Where do you keep saying, okay, now I'd like to put it over there, or put it over there? Who corrals that? Is that administratively, or is the state always looking over your
Well,
shoulder?
the state actually recommends that we use the Minnesota Liquid Asset Fund and Mintrust. So the schools that I work with, those are the same places that they also have funds.
So it's really not a competitive market that you're in. It's just okay, we can get you a little bit for it and we're okay with where it's going. I mean, I assume it's minimal interest, so. All right. Sorry, going down a rabbit hole. Any other questions for Sheena?
Just on the P card one, so can we make the assumption that if we are approving them, that there will be receipts attached moving forward?
Because we haven't seen the receipts attached this time.
Well, and it's just
And I
something if we're
did-
approving it
Yeah, I did
blindly.
bring what we have for receipts, and I did my very best to code everything the way it looks, but we are working on that. It's a discussion in the office and throughout the school that we're working on it. And Carly is going to work on contacting staff members to get the receipts.
And then from this point forward, that if we're being asked to approve stuff as a board member, I'd like to know that it's being documented correctly, and that's kind of a policy or standard.
But we're gonna do that today, right? We're going to remove, and so do we technically want to put that in our hand and peruse it for 30 seconds and say, okay? Or are we just gonna?
I'm leaving it up to you, but our auditors recommend that the school board reviews it each month. But, I mean, I'm admitting there's quite a bit missing.
Okay, well, as presented, I guess I'll throw at the end, because I'll trust your judgment on it, because it's not gonna put any light bulbs off my head by looking at it for too long either, so. All right,
We have issues that procedures have not been followed. So we're going to rectify it and
That
reduce
will
the
be-
number of credit cards and train staff and
We approved, like, was there 4 or something, and it was a checkout system? Is that still what's in place, or is it not?
that's part of the issue.
Okay,
It's in place, but it hasn't been followed.
okay.
okay, I'm gonna move on to the Activities Director and Community Ed, Sam Lyon.
I don't have much, finishing up the fall season with playoffs this week. Football's at Kitson tomorrow, volleyball's at home on Thursday at 7. A game tonight will determine who we play on Thursday. If we win, knock on big wood, we play Friday at home for volleyball. If football wins, they play later this week, Friday, I believe. So yeah, into the fall season, or into the end of the fall season, excited for those runs and looking towards getting ready for fall, winter sports. Got a few community ed things happening, but nothing major to report.
Questions for Sam? Okay, I'm gonna move to Seth Butts, Buildings and Grounds.
Just give a few updates. Saturday, we finally finished the conversion to LED in the pool. We did receive the, they call it the rebates that we had 2 years ago, but due to availability, it took that long to get the rest of the lights in. So that one's done already. Boiler, we're working on seeing if we have a possible underground leak or not. Since last February, we've lost 900 gallons of glycol, and we're not sure. We did find one of the coils had a leak in it and it was repaired. So we're running the system now, and that's gonna be an ongoing thing till we figure out if it was air, if we lost it in a leak, or if we have an underground leak somewhere in the building. That one's gonna be a big one. The chiller ran, the project was a success. Never ran the chiller over 60% capacity this summer, and that's for the whole school. That was absolutely phenomenal. With FEMA, we're moving to the next step where we're meeting with some of the federal government people. That's gonna be a long process. There's just a lot of repetitive stuff on there, so we got another meeting coming up here shortly. Jeff and I had a meeting 2 weeks ago. I think we both got homework lists to do, so we're working on that, getting all that ready. All the school blueprints are now scanned to electronic, and they are on a file that's accessible. So that's something that hasn't been done, that needed to get done. We have multiple sticks with all of them on there, so we can put them in multiple spots so we don't lose them. Let's see, we're working on signage for the traffic flow to get done. There's another one with availability signs have been rolling in slowly for what we ordered. We're gonna get them up before everything freezes. And the only issue that I'm concerned about is the snow blowing this year. We're working on trying to get that one out. I don't know if Corinne had a question on that we talked about earlier. You know anybody that wants to snowplow, let me know.
And that's using, in the past, using this
We're open to
either.
bids, bring your own equipment and do the snow removal, or
We wanna hire them.
part-time seasonal employee to
the equipment we have adequate to handle the ground?
It is, but we don't have the people to use it. That's the problem. You know, like last year, Dave was working the 4-hour shift, he's now full-time. So he had times come in and plow, and then between him and I, we did it last year. And now he's full-time, I do not have that option. Or am I gonna sit out there all winter? No, that was a big struggle last year for me, put so many hours in plowing plus in here. I know anybody,
He was pretty desperate. He even had me driving the plow truck around the parking lot.
yeah,
And Brad was out there too.
Put Jeff out there with a shovel.
actually.
Done that too.
Actually, when he came in, I'd already jumped in the plow truck, so I did tell him, grab a shovel and do the entryways, and he did it just without even questioning it.
When were the bids due?
I put the 1st of November,
Okay. Have you received anything?
not that I know of. I told him to drop them off at the district in front office. I've not heard anything yet. I'm pushing on a couple people.
We had our social media.
Yeah.
Person put it out there.
Yep.
That's where I saw it.
It's in the paper, it's on the website, it's on Channel 3.
It's on Facebook.
Papers. It's on Facebook.
Questions for Seth? How do you determine an underground leak with a glycol? You just wait and see if it levels drop and start searching?
Watch the pressure. And so far we got it filled up, and now that we got it up to full temperature 180, it's been holding right about 8 to 10 what it has been in the past. So we're just gonna keep an eye on it. If we start dropping or have to fill in glycol, we'll have to have a company come in that specializes in finding underground leaks. Peterson did send a couple specialists up, and we did a walk through and look for them. We did find there's a lot more underground than what was anticipated. You know, the thought was we just had it in a couple of the entryways, coming in, going down underneath, like in the north side of the commons. We did find out every resource room throughout the school, it comes down, goes underground. So that was not a pleasant surprise.
Is that an engineering design or?
That's an architect.
Not an engineer?
I'm an engineer.
Yeah. So we're keeping our fingers crossed, the pressure's been holding for about, held at 160 for about 3 weeks, and it's holding at 180. Just keep knocking on wood, it stays there.
So any update, there was a question on the scoreboard electric,
Oh,
So-
just the arena committee?
the
and
arena committee?
No,
Committee
Do we
met?
have any?
we have not organized a meeting with that yet. And that should be able to get that done here in the next 2 weeks.
Let me know.
Deer season.
Silly question, Seth, but can you put the stop leak in the system and?
Wish it was that easy.
I mean, that gunk you put in the radiator, the mouse turds?
The only problem with the closed loop system, you don't want it to stop. You want it to keep on going.
Food service, Olson and Pearson, whoever's taking charge of that.
So it was fun while it lasted. I'm sure you all know Judy's resigned from the Bears Den. So we got the word out and hoping someone applies to manage. It will probably be a whole different show though. We'll maybe insist on it because it is a big job and folks don't realize it. And then they get overwhelmed, and so we might have to cut back a little bit. From the Bears Den, we all used to know if we can find someone to manage. I don't know what to tell you.
We have some ideas about specific people who we've
Right.
talked to a little bit, so I think we're trying to both a Facebook shotgun approach, to see if we're finding people, as well as some targeted folks that we thought. Some changes, like Jackie's alluded to, and menu changes, things like that are on the table as well to make it a little bit more time efficient for that person. Deep fried stuff and grill stuff is time consuming.
Yeah.
It takes time to clean that stuff, and produce it. So there's ways I think we can change the menu to make it a little bit more efficient for whoever's working. And then other things like, if we get to it, potentially contracting it out, like we would do a snowplow service. If there's somebody who wants to run it for their own profit. I mean, we're considering all sorts of options. And of course, that comes with its own host of hoops, right? They would have to be their own food safe certified, own insurance, all of that stuff. But I think it's an important service to offer, and it's nice when it's volunteers, and those volunteers can then fundraise for one of their programs, but it's hard. And unfortunately, we're now facing a season of less profits typically than the fall season, right? Volleyball is the big moneymaker, and basketball are just smaller crowds. Longer season, smaller crowds. So, I think Jackie and I are in communication about it and have some ideas, not in a panic moment yet, and try to be creative. So,
Hopefully.
hopefully. Cross your fingers.
Did she resign effective immediately?
After volleyball season,
Yeah.
so she's
Okay.
pulling us through which we appreciate.
Mhm.
And she's done if you see her, give her thanks for the time that she's given us, both in the customer-facing stuff was really great. Sheena sings her praises on the accounting side of things. We are very appreciative of the time that she's given us, so if you see her, say thanks.
Questions, comments?
Ideas.
Brad Abbey.
Well, I did the whole new federal mortars carrier safety administration hire for these new drivers. Drove a bus driver after jumping through the hoops, drove a bus driver down to Thief River today to take his test and he passed. And I was told that this is the first bus driver we've had hired on in 5 years. I don't know if that's true or not. That's kind of a big feat. It was a big process. It was kind of a group thing between me and John, and between having to register our school as a training place and training location, register myself, and add into the database that holds all the training. So when you go to the DMV, the guy pulls somebody's name up and shows that they've taken all the training. So it was a big learning process for me and for everybody else. And we went through it, we did it, and now we're hopefully getting more drivers and they'll feel a little bit more comfortable doing it. Some learning, a little bit of a learning curve on that, but nothing that was too crazy. So I got a driver, was our mechanic assistant, so he'll be able to fuel buses and help out with some of the day-to-day around here. As you seen when you pulled in, we removed our diesel tank from which was supposed to be tomorrow, and I was gone today, so Seth and Dale were there to facilitate. I did talk to the guy when I got back from Deep River today, and sounds like they're just got some cleanup stuff to do tomorrow, and they're done. Get rid of the tank. So that's over. That's been kind of an ongoing thing and been rescheduled 3-4 times because of certain things out of my control. One time it was a soil tester, one time it was permits. It was supposed to be done over MEA, and then the permits didn't get in time, so. And we did get I found out the last couple days of last month, I think it was like September 27th, we found out that we were awarded our stop arm camera grant for the bus garage at $47,200 for new stop arm cameras and other cameras too. We're gonna update everything. So that opens November 1st. I gotta go through I don't know exactly how they're gonna work it, but I haven't gotten to that yet. I've been too busy trying to train drivers and things like that. So I'm looking forward to that, get some updates on cameras, especially the stop arm ones, because I've never been able to read a plate on any stop arm camera, even when I thought it was perfect, the sun was out, the car was driving at a certain, I'm like, there's no way I can't get in. I've never been able to read a license plate on a stop arm violation, so I'm hoping that these cameras are the trick. And we could use an upgrade on some of our cameras on our buses too, as far as blind spots where you can't see certain kids, you can hear them, but you can't see them. So, something we're working on. Other than that, I don't really have anything.
You get a lot of people just run right around the stop arms?
No, I mean, it happens. A lot of it, I'm a firm believer that it depends on a lot of the bus driver. You get some bus drivers that, bus drivers using common sense, it reduces it by, I think, by like probably 50 to 75%. Then you get some bus drivers that are like, oh, car's going, I'm gonna put my stop sign on, even though they should have maybe waited and then it's, I don't know what it is, but honestly, we get like 3 or 4 or 5 a year, maybe half dozen a year. And it's usually people in a hurry. Luckily, we got good bus drivers, and they kind of see it coming, and they stop the kid. And we had a bad one last year where the kindergartner almost got run over, and I switched the whole route around so that we could pick her up on the right side of the street morning and afternoon, and got rid of it that way, so she wasn't walking across the street and down there. So. And I do that with all our routes. I try to make it sure that if a kid's gonna walk in front of the bus, that it's the last thing we've done exhausted all our avenues of dropping that kid out of the house. And we got a couple on each route where they have to cross the state highway. It's scary, but what they need to do. So. But route management, I think route management and bus drivers being attentive really reduces a lot of that. If you see a vehicle coming and maybe before you turn your reds on, your stop sign, or just sit there with your hammers on, let the car come by instead of throwing your stop sign out there and hoping they stop. Kind of thing. I think it's a lot of that.
Question for Brad? Okay, hearing none, let's adjourn the working session. Anybody want a break? Okay. Those departing depart.
Tim knows how to clear a room.
All right, well, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Who moved the flag anyway? Always supposed to be there.
Pledge allegiance to the clock.
One time on the cop, we had a meeting somewhere and there was no flags, and I had a flag on my uniform, so everybody's like, oh, Brad's got a flag on his uniform.
There we go. Allegiance to Brad.
We did that with County Commission, more like county commissioners did too.
Yeah.
All right, call the meeting to order at 7:07. I guess I could have done the Pledge of Allegiance after that. And I need a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ellis, second by Johnson.
Are we going to add the,
So with the addition of the approval of the invoices and statements, which is now 4B, moving that to, what would we call that? Move everything down one, or, 'Cause I can't really sneak 5 in there unless we want to put it down at number 10.
4A,
We got a 4A is the approval of the minutes.
let's see, yeah. I was thinking 4, like the number 4 and then A immediately after it.
yeah.
I suppose that wouldn't work.
So what is it we're adding?
4A dot.
The approval of the purchase cards, P cards?
P cards, you got, but we'll say purchase cards so we don't get an acronym in the
Yeah.
board report. But just the approval of the invoices and statements and purchase card, and that's, which is now 4B, is actually a separate line item. If we just want to do 4B as a separate line item, is that fair?
That was what I was thinking that we could do, add it to that 4B, and then couldn't we just, for this meeting, pull it out and say that we want to pull that from the consent agenda and have a separate motion?
Well, why don't we just approve the minutes? I mean, it's not really a consent agenda then. Approve the minutes, approve the invoices, statements, and approve the personnel
Do them all
resignations.
individually. I'm okay
Yeah,
with that too.
Okay,
Sure.
yeah, I'm fine
So
with
we're gonna
that.
do away with the consent agenda?
Yep.
effectively,
Okay.
for this go-round.
Just for
All
tonight,
right,
he's
Just
saying.
for tonight to get it to work.
Someone might have to draw me a map later. Future months on what
Jill
we're
looks
doing.
confused too.
All right. Without any further discussion, I need approval, or all those in favor of approving the agenda with the consent agenda being removed and its subparts being separate line item motions.
I'll make that motion.
Well, you've got the motion
Or
in.
we've got-
All right,
That was
so
his motion.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. So I need an approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
Make the motion.
Motion by Johnson. Second by Lyon. All those in favor, or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. 4B, I need an approval of the invoices and statements and purchase card as presented by the business manager.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ellis,
Second.
second by Johnson. Discussion.
You said as presented
As
because
presented.
understanding that we realize it's
Yeah, they're-
incomplete.
There were caveats into the,
But with an idea towards keeping that as a separate
Yep.
action item in future meetings.
Okay.
Okay, no more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. I need a motion and a second to approve the personnel resignations, retirements, and appointments, specifically Judy Beckman from the Bears Den and Roger Nielsen from Maintenance, and an appointment of Susan Maxfield in Maintenance.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Ellis. Discussion.
Unless I missed it, so is Susan Maxfield, was she already an employee here?
Not that
No,
I'm
but
aware
she
of.
was, no, I don't think so.
She's just replacing Roger Nielsen. I mean, it's a convenient flip-flop there, isn't it?
Well, so she wasn't employed here in any capacity? I'm just wondering.
I read something.
Well, I read something
somewhere.
that, like, it wasn't going to be advertised for because they already had a replacement or something.
I thought
I
it was
thought
being-
I saw that.
I thought it
Is
was
that in
going
the-
to be advertised still,
I don't think so.
or had been. Somewhere in there I read, I remember what you're reading.
Yeah, it's brief.
Unless it's
Yeah,
some internal
here-
thing, don't you have to?
So we've
advertise?
received a resignation notice from Roger Nielsen from maintenance. The position will not be posted as Susan Maxfield is being recommended for hire.
Oh, recommended
So
for hire, okay.
And
I didn't
that's
remember
in
that
the-
part, but I wasn't sure, like, if she was here part-time, being
Yeah.
recommended for hire
Probably
full-time
in
or
the
something.
original pool of candidates from the first
Oh, okay.
advertisement.
Okay. I was just,
Yeah.
for some reason, that stuck with me and I was like, does she already work here part-time or, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Everybody okay with that? I got a motion and a second to approve the resignations and appointments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries unanimously. I got no board presenters. No written communications that I'm aware of. No old business that I'm aware of. New business. I've got I need a motion and a second to approve the review and first reading of policies 410, family medical leave policy as discussed in the working session, and 415, mandated reporting of maltreatment of vulnerable adults. Need a motion and a second.
Make the motion.
Motion by Johnson, second by Lyon. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Need a motion and a second to approve the review and first reading of policies 524, the Internet Acceptable Use and Safety Policy, 515, the protection and privacy of pupil records, and 722, the public data requests.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Trask,
Second.
second by Johnson. Discussion.
I think I noticed a few things that need to be completed, so we would just address those at the next.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Motion and a second to approve the 2022-2023 staff seniority list as presented.
There's some changes, but you need a motion in a second for discussion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion second.
Second by Sonstergaard.
In your table copy, there was one correction. And that's Lisa Olson should have been moved up to tenured status from non-tenured. So what you have is the updated, correct, it should be in red, I think. Did I hand out the wrong pile of papers?
Nope, I see it.
It's in red.
Okay,
You got it. Yep, she's moved.
so on the ones that have, and this will be stapled with the ones that were signed, so this is updated, but the other one has the signature, or their signatures on it.
You know, the other, it seemed like I remember a note that Amy Hendrickson's
And we, yes, add
license
her,
expiration was different.
okay.
And her name is, I think, spelled
And-
wrong.
Oh, is it?
Let's hope, because.
She's married to Ryland, right?
No, that's.
Oh, that's,
Brianna.
that's
Brianne.
Brianne, never mind. She's
Yeah.
probably fine then, sorry.
Yeah,
Is she on the new list?
yeah. And her license expires in 22.
According to this.
And then I thought there was a note somewhere about her, but maybe not. Maybe I'm.
She had added her name on because it wasn't
Oh.
on last year's.
Okay, that was what it was then.
So I had missed her.
Okay, and then how about Nathan Solar? He also started 9/19.
He's a tier 1, and he's like, he's only, has 1/7 of the day.
Okay, so he's,
So they gotta.
yeah, they have to be more than that before
Yes.
their tenure. I just wanted to check just since that other one was down there too.
But we'll
It's not
check
just
on-
an employment date, it's an hourly or a full
Like a full contract or.
contract, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just thought I would, since I was asking about the other
Yep.
questions
No,
I had.
that's fine, yeah.
Does that mean it'll take him 14 years to get tenure? If he's 1/7?
I don't know, I'd have to sit down.
Wow.
Actually, 21 years, but
Oh, it's
3 years.
3 years. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so, once again, as presented and as discussed, we have a motion and a second to accept the seniority list. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Need a motion and a second to approve the resolution 2022-2023-06, accepting a donation of $275 from the Williams Gardner to the Lake of the Woods School Backpack Program.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ellis, second by Lyon. Discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We get a lot of stuff out of that small community of Williams. I appreciate that. They are a motivated group of individuals. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And a final motion and a second to approve the disposal of obsolete equipment.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Johnson,
I'll second.
second by Sonstegard. Discussion.
I noticed in the thing that there was no fee for disposal, because he said it was gonna go to a recycler. I don't know of any recyclers that recycle them for free. Maybe if you guys know, and actually if you are getting it for free, let me know, because then the county will start sending our equipment there, because it's a payment thing usually. So kudos to him, he found somebody to take it for free.
Further discussion.
Office Max.
Motion to approve the disposal of the obsolete equipment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Other business? Okay, we're adjourning at 7:21.
So is it just easier just to get rid of the consent agenda and just make those all individual motions?
Not leave the consent agenda, it's just make the
Pull that
second one.
one
That way
out.
you can still have your catch-all for the,
For
The
the
other stuff.
resignations and,
Personnel, minutes approval.
yeah.
I'm not sure what else we put under there, but
So under new business is where we would put the purchase card approval, is that what we're saying, am I understanding?
or just its own line item, just like the
Just
approval.
its line, like bump personnel down to D. And
Oh,
put P card
I
at a
see. Okay,
CC
so it's still gonna be under the consent agenda, but.
on its own line.
Okay,
That's what I think it should be.
okay.
I don't think it needs a separate motion.
well, if you. leave
I
it
would
under the
disagree.
consent-
I would say it needs a separate
Yeah,
motion. It's what
definitely.
you wanted.
Otherwise, you'd have to go through each of them
Oh,
separately, the way
okay.
we just did.
So it
Right.
needs a separate motion.
Yeah. So we can approve to a consent agenda, and then item number, like tonight, item number 5 would be the approval of the invoices and